radio studios of WDBO in sunny Orlando, Florida, here's talk radio host Joe Kelley's Behind the News podcast, where Joe and his listeners and guests discuss the most important issues of the day, plus the crazy and bizarre stories of the infamous Florida man. Here's Joe Kelley.
We got a lot to unpack here tonight, so I'm so glad you're joining us here on Orlando's News and Talk with me, Joe Kelley. Find me online at Talk Radio Joe. That's Facebook, Instagram, and pretty much everywhere else. Even on the PS5, it's at Talk Radio Joe if you want to challenge me to a game there. I'm not very good, I'll give you that. We've got a lot to break down this hour. In fact, we're gonna lean into the March Madness going on here in Orlando at the Amway Center. We're going to talk to sports anchor Alex Walker from Channel 9 Eyewitness News. That'll be coming up in about a half an hour from right now. We're also going to talk about Disney deciding to focus on quality over quantity. We'll get into that coming up in a couple of moments. But first, speaking about Disney, I got to go to WDBO reporter Sophie Diaz, who's been at Magic Kingdom all day today. You clearly drew the short straw today in getting assigned to go cover the new ride opening there. Sophie, how are you?
I am great, Joe. How are you?
Good, thanks. How many times have you ridden Tron today?
Only twice. I haven't been overzealous.
Oh, only twice. Was the second time as good as the first time?
I will say the first one took my breath away, and the second one took it again.
Yeah, and you know, we talked about it last night with Laurel, but give us your perspective on what the ride is like, you know, starting from the queue when you're standing in line, because everybody eventually is going to be standing in line.
So the first thing that really grabbed my attention was the queue. It is very dark, but it is interactive in a sort of way. I guess you'll have to see it to believe it. But there is an interesting factor where you have this disappearing screen in front of you, which is really awesome to see. I didn't realize what I was looking at until I was there. And, you know, it's beautiful. And then the ride itself, honestly, the mechanics and the seat were fine, but I am short in stature, so I didn't have too many troubles with trying to fit myself in or trying to fit my legs in. I know that someone much taller than me might have some difficulties. And it wasn't entirely uncomfortable, but it wasn't the most comfortable position I would keep myself in forever.
Well, is it a smooth ride? I know some of the older rides and coasters are very jerky and are not entirely smooth, but I know that the engineers who make those kinds of things in recent years have been working on making rides smoother than they used to be.
No, it is very smooth. You don't feel jolted around. You feel like the launch is super smooth.
And it's, as we discussed yesterday, it goes both indoors and outdoors. And I was watching some of the videos of people that were doing it earlier, and I laughed because as everybody went kind of through the threshold from the indoor side to the outdoor side, people ducked. As if they were going to hit the top of the doorway or whatever it is, and I would probably similarly duck, but their heads were nowhere near hitting anything.
Well, Disney, I don't think, has a lot of roller coasters that extend over a walkway like that, so it is very surprising to see it coming at you when you're on that ground level looking up. And it does go over the Disney World Railroad that goes around the Magic Kingdom Park.
Oh, no kidding.
Kingdom Railroad. Yeah, so it's got two walkways over, or two, I guess, coasters extending over one walkway. I don't know how to explain it.
I think you just did.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so it is a little jolting to see at first. It just passes right over you, and you can see the faces of the people on it up close. You can see their surprise, their fear, whatever you call it.
Right. Yeah, if you're just joining us, we're talking to Sophie Diaz, a WDBO reporter who got the bummer assignment of covering a new roller coaster out at Magic Kingdom. And I would imagine, in addition to the fun ride, the weather was a little bit chilly out there today, but I bet the weather was nice compared to those hot August days out at the theme park. And I'd be willing to bet, Sophie, that they probably fed you some pretty good food at some point today.
Actually, not yet.
Not yet. That's coming.
Yeah, I'm hoping it is. But the weather, it went well with the ride, but the rest of the time, it actually, I think it's in the 80s right now?
It is 72.
There's no way. It feels awful out there. I was dressed in a very thick jacket, expecting it to be much colder.
Yeah.
And instead, the sun's beating down on me.
That the Florida sunshine always negates whatever the actual temperature is. It either makes it a lot hotter or unbearably hotter. So,
yep, you've got that right.
All right, and when does that open to the public, Sophie?
It'll be opening up April 4th.
April 4th. All right. And in the meantime, I think they'll probably have a bit of a soft opening. I know that they're letting some of the cast members ride it. They're letting the media ride it. I know that they're letting some of the season ticket holders be able to ride it as part of a soft opening as well. Sophie Diaz joining us live out there from Magic Kingdom. And, of course, we'll check in with her again tomorrow to see how the food and everything else worked out as well. Good job, Sophie. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up in a few minutes here, we're going to get into some of the changes that are coming to the parks, changes that are coming to Disney after Bob Iger addressed some of those issues. We already know that Iger said that the park is too crowded and too expensive, but some changes are coming to the motion picture division of Disney. We'll get into that. Coming up next, right here on WDBO. Stay with us. Well, on the subject of Disney, and Laurel, I know that this is gonna affect you in some way, shape, or form, as you are the world's #1 Star Wars fan.
Sure am.
But according to Bob Iger spoke at an event late last week, and he's been speaking about it since. But they are now talking about scaling back the number of Star Wars projects and Star Wars films due to a box office flop. And I'm sure you know which box office flop that they're talking about.
Solo?
Yeah, Solo, a Star Wars story. That was the Han Solo movie, and I thought it was a bad movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought they could have got a better actor for young Han, but
Yeah.
we won't get into all that.
I didn't like the way that I'm still creeped out that Lando Calrissian had a thing for robots.
Okay, I think they made too much of a thing. The point was that Lando was a dog, right? He always was. And I think they were trying to play on that. And I think people, because of the movement we're in, they picked up on the word pansexual and they ran with it. And I think the public made it a bigger thing than Star Wars ever meant for it to be.
Well, I felt creepy about it, too, without regard to what the public had to say about it. It just seemed weird. It's like, is he hitting on that robot? It just seemed bizarre. But anyhow, that was the one flop that they say. And so now Bob Iger says that the movie division is going to work on quality over quantity, even saying that they're going to slow down both Marvel and Star Wars projects. Now, I am to Marvel what you are to Star Wars. I love the Marvel
So why would they
cinematic
do that when
universe.
they have Disney Plus and they can release? I mean, I know that's not box office, but they can release how many ever they want on Disney Plus.
Right, and they acknowledge that the Star Wars projects that they put on Disney Plus, The Mandalorian, Andor, The Book of Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan, they said those were massive success for
And
the streaming
Obi-Wan
platform.
was supposed to be a movie, so I wonder if that was kind of a hint as to what was coming. Obi-Wan was filmed as a movie, and instead they chopped it up and put it on Disney Plus.
I thought the Obi-Wan series on Disney Plus was one of the best Star Wars products I've ever seen. I mean, I just thought it was so good. I watched it twice. Disney has shelved multiple new Star Wars projects, including Patty Jenkins's Rogue Squadron, which was a Disney Plus series on Lando Calrissian, as played by Donald Glover.
Who I thought was fantastic. I know you don't agree, but
I love Donald Glover. I just didn't like that Lando was hitting on robots.
Okay.
That was the part that creeped me out.
Okay,
I'm pretty open-minded, but hitting on robots kind of freaks me out a little bit. And then there was going to be a new Star Wars movie directed by Marvel's Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is the mastermind behind all the Marvel movies. And they've canceled that. And Patty Jenkins, the Rogue Squadron. Patty Jenkins is the woman who directed the Wonder Woman movie, amongst others. But they've shelved those projects now.
I can't imagine that any other portion of Disney right now is booming merchandise-wise the way Star Wars is. I mean, they built theme parks,
Yeah, but at the same time, they point to what is that Disney hotel experience? I'm sorry, the Star Wars hotel experience.
The Galactic Cruiser.
The Galactic Cruiser. They have massively scaled back the amount of reservations available for the Galactic Cruiser because it costs like $20,000.
But that's the thing. It's not for the public wants to go. But most people can't afford $5,000 per person for 2 nights.
Yeah. Yeah,
Even locals are like, no, we're not doing that.
right, because you haven't done it, have you?
No, I'm hoping the prices go down. I think like everybody else in the world.
Yeah, and it's odd that instead of lowering the prices, which is what one would think they would do, they've just cut back the number of reservations that are available. So it's empty more nights now than not.
Right.
I don't understand why they would build that. And I have to wonder if that was, a Bob Paycheck thing, Bob Chapek. We call him Bob Paycheck because he got a big golden parachute after his short tenure as CEO of Disney. But I have to wonder if that was a Bob Paycheck idea that Bob Iger doesn't like.
Yeah. I mean, possibly, and you'd hope that since everybody's saying that's the thing now on the annual pass holders page on Facebook, we all go on there and we're like, Mr. Iger, here's our suggestion. Like he's actually getting on the Facebook page and reading all of our suggestions.
I'm sure he is.
But that would be my suggestion, Mr. Iger, is if we could lower the price of the Galactic Cruiser. I'll be there every other weekend.
I saw a screenshot today of Beverly Hills. What was the movie Beverly Hills Cop 3? With the guy from Saturday Night Live. What is his name?
Oh, you're asking the wrong person. I'm terrible at actor and actresses.
What's the guy's name? Come on, the comedian from SNL.
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. Thank you, Paul Cross. That's who I was looking for. I don't know why that escaped me, but Eddie Murphy's character, Axel Foley. See, I can remember Axel Foley was trying to get into Disney and in the scene, and the Disney ticket seller said that'll be $35. And the character, Axel Foley, was like, what? $35? I mean, could you imagine only having to spend $35 to get into Disney?
That would be incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
That really would be something. But yeah, the prices have gone up quite a bit. By the way, there is somebody out there, perhaps in this listening audience, that is sitting on almost $200,000, and perhaps you don't know it. A Florida lottery player has 1 day left to claim a winning ticket worth $186,000. The Florida Lottery is urging players to check their tickets again, especially if they bought a Fantasy 5 ticket from a Publix on Miami Beach for the September 16th drawing. The numbers were 3, 14, 15, 16, and 34. The deadline to claim the prize is tomorrow. Prizes can be claimed at any district office. Why play the lottery if you're not going to check your numbers? Why would you invest the time, the effort, and of course the money into playing the lottery if you don't check your numbers?
It's just habit for some people. They buy a ticket every time they go get gas, and then you stick it in your little visor in your car, and you forget about it because, I mean, what are the chances, right?
Well, and perhaps, those are people who are hoping for the $2 billion payout. And when they read in the news or hear in the news that the $2 billion winner lives in Wisconsin or something like that, they think, oh, well, I didn't win, not realizing that they could have won a lesser prize.
Right. Now, yeah, because I know I bought when I was trying to win the billions, and now I'm going to have to text my husband and be like, did we play the pick? Because
did we buy tickets in Miami Beach?
I don't think so, but that'd be nice.
Yeah. So if that's your ticket, double check your lottery ticket numbers just in case you might be the winner. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Channel 9 Eyewitness News sports anchor Alex Walker, one of these really incredibly handsome TV guys, and very knowledgeable about sports. And he's going to bring us up to speed, all of us that aren't knowledgeable about sports, about the upcoming or the currently happening March Madness games out at the Amway Center. So stay with us. We're going to break down what you need to know coming up next, right here on WDBO. I'm so glad you're joining us here on this Tuesday night. Look for me online at Talk Radio Joe. Look for the podcast Behind the News with Joe Kelley, anywhere you get your podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else that you get your podcast. Behind the News with Joe Kelley. You can subscribe, like, and give it a review there. We would appreciate that very, very much. Joining me now here on Orlando's News and Talk with Joe Kelley is Channel 9 Eyewitness News sports anchor, handsome Alex Walker. Alex, how are you? Thanks for joining me.
Hey, how are you, man? Thanks for having me. Happy March Madness. Ready to tear up my bracket after a couple early round games, right?
No kidding. Now, listen, I live in downtown, so walking distance to the Amway Center. And as I was parking last night, coming home from work, I was pulling into the parking garage. There was a big sign that said March Madness. expect, significant delays. I have never seen a sign like that in our parking garage. Not even, 2 weeks ago when we had 4 major events all going on in downtown Orlando at the same time. So I thought I better call Alex because this must be a big deal.
It is a huge deal for the city of Orlando, for sports fans. Yeah, it was a crazy week last week, and you didn't see signs like that. Just to kind of get you guys ready for the crowds that are about to descend on Orlando and the Amway Center. You mentioned it's a big deal. It's because it is. This is the 7th time Orlando has hosted the NCAA men's basketball tournament, first time since 2017. And when the brackets were released on Sunday, everyone here in Central Florida wondering what teams are going to be here. And because the teams that were picked to come here, that's why the sign is there, because you got Duke, you got Tennessee, you got Virginia, 3 teams that travel really well, and you're going to see a lot of blue, a lot of orange starting tomorrow and Thursday. So I can't wait for that. 8 big games this weekend for me. We got 4 on Thursday and 2 on Saturday. So it's going to be an awesome weekend in the City Beautiful for sure.
Wow, Duke. I mean, you're absolutely right. Those are teams with huge fan bases, and not just coming from Duke. I mean, there are fan bases here in Orlando for them.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's the thing about Orlando is we have fan bases from almost everywhere in the country. And so I have friends that are Duke fans that are living right down the street, and they're going to be at the game. And the thing is, we got 4 of these games on to give you a quick rundown of what's going on Thursday to kind of know what to expect if you want to go down to the games or check it out or at least be a part of the scene down there on Wall Street or Orange Avenue to get a sense of that pageantry. Everything starts 12:40 Thursday. Virginia against Furman, 3:10 San Diego State against Charleston. And then in the nightcap, there's an afternoon session, a night session. The night session, Duke plays at 7:10 against Oral Roberts. And then Tennessee, we got Rocky Top playing Louisiana at 9:40. So 4 awesome games to kick off March Madness right here. It's going to be a lot of fun.
You know, that works out well. My daughter's going to Tennessee, and she's in town for spring break, so maybe that'll be an opportunity for her to check that out. And Oral Roberts University against Duke. I mean, clearly Duke is favored to win that one.
That is true, but I will tell you this. For those that are listening I know a lot of people fill out brackets, people that are fans, people that just want to fill it out to try to win some money. This is a region in Orlando that has a very upset-friendly feel to it. The most popular upset since the men's basketball tournament expanded is a 12 seed over a 5 seed. You think of a team like Oral Roberts, against Duke. This is an Oral Roberts team that 2 years ago was one of the lowest seeds in the tournament, went all the way to the Sweet 16, almost went to the Elite 8, Final 8 teams. They have a bunch of experience. They have a chance to beat Duke, and then the other 5-12 matchup guys is San Diego State is the 5 seed. Charleston is the 12 seed, and so every year there are 4 12-5 games. Usually about 2 of the 12s beat 2 of the 5, so maybe both will happen in Orlando. So I'm just saying, Duke, San Diego State, watch out.
You may not know the answer to this, but are the games sold out yet?
I am not sure about ticket sales,
okay.
But if I had to guess, it's not going to be empty. It's going to be pretty darn full, if not sold out. But I will say this for fans that are curious about ticket sales. Give the Amway Center a call. NCAA March Madness on their website too has ticket opportunities, and for those that maybe want to go see the action but maybe don't want to go to the games on Thursday, something I always make sure we point out is tomorrow, Wednesday. There's 8 teams in Orlando this week. Every team gets their time in the spotlight tomorrow for open practice, and it's open and free to the public.
Oh, wow.
Starting at 11 a.m. Tomorrow morning is Furman. I'll run down quick. We got Furman at 11 a.m., then Charleston, Virginia, San Diego State, Duke, Tennessee, Oral Roberts, and then Louisiana from 11 a.m. until 4:15, until about 5 o'clock, actually. So if you want to check out you can just go over and watch them practice.
Wow, that is really cool.
So,
yeah.
How cool is that? So that's a unique opportunity for fans to get a front row look at some of the teams in action this weekend.
Well, you do not disappoint. Great information. Channel 9 Eyewitness News sports anchor Alex Walker. Alex, thank you so much for your time and expertise and helping a brother out who doesn't know a whole lot about sports, and that would be me. So thank you very much, Alex.
Hey, I appreciate the time, guys. Happy March Madness.
Yep, we'll talk to you again soon, I would hope. Now, hashtag fun fact when it comes to March Madness. I don't know if you know this, but March Madness is a perfect time to get a vasectomy. And you're thinking, what? But demand for surgery typically increases during March Madness. Not just vasectomies, but outpatient surgeries in general increase during March Madness. As they say, it is the perfect time to relax at home and have something to do while you're recovering. As I am not a college basketball fan, I'm a little bit of a professional basketball fan, but I went to a college that didn't have a team. In fact, we had a college team, we had a basketball team, but we didn't have a football team because they canceled the football program. It was that bad. And once they canceled the football program, it took our basketball program out of the division. I went to Lamar University in Beaumont, Texas, and we're just, because I didn't go to a school with an exciting basketball or any kind of sports program, I just never really got into the collegiate sports. In fact, I'm much more a sports fan today, college sports fan today, because my daughter goes to Tennessee. I didn't miss a single Tennessee game this year. But if you're thinking about getting a vasectomy, now, they say, is the time. Coming up in a moment, 2 massive banks shuttered their doors this week. We know about the Silicon Valley Bank and then the other bank, Signature Bank. Wait till you hear what the chairman of that bank was doing just days before the bank's doors were closed. Hang on, we'll have that for you in his audio, in his words, coming up next on WDBO. There is a rocket launch tonight at 8:30 and 41 seconds. 8:30 tonight, there is a Falcon 9 SpaceX that is a resupply mission to the International Space Station. It's got the Cargo Dragon spacecraft packed with 6,300 pounds of fresh food, hardware, and experiments headed to the International Space Station. Again, the launch time tonight is 8:30 p.m., and there's an 80% chance of favorable weather for tonight. The resupply mission is going to be SpaceX's 27th cargo delivery mission to the International Space Station. The banks that closed, okay, you heard about the banks that have closed, the Silicon Valley Bank and then Signature Bank. Here is what the Signature Bank CEO was doing on a video call and a staff meeting with his staff just days before they locked their doors.
Signature Bank, and it is a pleasure for me to welcome you to this multimedia, multicasted, multispatial meeting of the Pride Council. And I'm just thrilled that there are about 40 people in the room. I understand there are something like 190 people at watch parties. So hi to you all at the watch parties.
The most common pronouns that folks are familiar with are she and he. Becoming much more common, and I don't know if there's anyone in the Signature Bank world, but probably you have clients that use they, them as pronouns. They're gender-neutral pronouns on purpose. We talked about folks that are non-binary, that intentionally don't identify as male or female. So some of those folks use they, them as their pronouns. Z is another gender-neutral pronoun, and the other part of that would be here, spelled H-I-R. And then there's some folks that say, don't use any pronouns for me, just use my name. So I use he, him as my pronouns, but I'll go through all of these to talk about what they would sound like if I used each one.
Yeah, that's what they were doing days before, as they were squandering everybody's money and putting all the investors in jeopardy. That's what the staff was working on at Signature Bank. I wonder if that is going to help them now moving forward. Hey, Laurel, do you remember when I had a daily habit here at the radio station where I had 2 water bottles and I would fill them up at the sink or at the water fountain and I would use those, I'd reuse them every day?
Yeah, and somebody told you that wasn't a good idea.
Right. Somebody said those that's really filthy, and I'm like,
I wonder who that smart person was.
Was it you?
It was. I'm like, that's not a great idea.
So here's the science to back it up. All right. Now, reusable water bottles, we're told now, contain more bacteria than toilet seats. A recent study finds that reusable bottles can contain 40,000 more bacteria than a toilet seat. Why do we compare everything to a toilet seat?
Because what is grosser than a toilet?
Evidently, water bottles are grosser than toilets. Researchers swabbed different water bottles with different lids and found 2 different kinds of bacteria, one of which can cause antibiotic-resistant infections and the other can cause stomach issues. Compared to other household items, bottles contain twice as many germs as the kitchen sink, 14 times more than a pet's drinking bowl. Experts recommend washing bottles once a day with soapy water and sanitizing it once a week. I literally use the same 2 smart water bottles for 2 or 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
And
that long?
And I never washed them once.
I won't use the plastic ones over and again, but I have I say plastic as in those are disposable, right? I have the hard plastic ones, and I'll use those for 3 days, and then I'll go wash them.
With bottles like that as well, you also have to consider the plastic degrades as well, and it begins to leach into the water.
Randy, you're ruining it.
It does.
Because, they're meant to break
I will have
down.
you know, though, I finally did switch. When I finally got rid of the 2 water bottles, I switched to a mug of sorts. But I will tell you, I have not washed this mug yet. Even when it was brand new, I didn't wash it. So I think I have issues. I'm pretty sure of that.